tomorrow will mark 1 month until Colorado's primary election day. So let's take a look at how the governor's race is shaping up. Television ads from Jared Polis, Kerry Kennedy, and Mike Johnson are all over the airwaves, joined by a few from Walker Stapleton and Victor Mitchell. Starting next Friday, we here at Colorado Public Television will be kicking off our Colorado Decides debate series, first with the Democrats running for governor at 9 p.m. next Friday. That's June 1st, 9 p.m. and 9 p.m. at June, every Friday in June until the primary election. We'll have some special debates for you, so be sure to tune in. But right now, we're talking about the governor's race. Patty, it's hard for me to say that just because of the ads we see that tells any momentum. There's fundraising from a lot of different areas, whether it's where Mike Johnston has got his fundraising outside of the state, Jared Polis from his own pocketbook, Kerry Kennedy, who's been racing for quite a while, and Donna Lynn's still there. She still has that tattoo web, which I think has made a lot of shock value. We just don't see it as often. From what we've seen so far, both from the Democrats and the Republicans, what are your thoughts?
Well, my first thought is look how far we've come. We haven't talked about this for a while on this show, but the clown cars have been circling, and they're still crowded. I mean, we had some early bailers. I mean, Perlmutter jumped out of the Democratic car. Tancredo was a surprise bailer from the Republican car. But you still have 4 viable-ish candidates in the Democratic Party. You've got 4 people still crammed in the Republican car, although Stapleton is clearly in the driver's seat there. So we can see a lot of action over the next month, especially as so far the Democrats haven't been picking at each other so much, and they may not, but the Republicans certainly have been. You know, Doug Robinson has been on the attack. We're going to hear a lot of picking apart Walker Stapleton, I think, over the next 4 weeks. And the Democrats, they're just going to be pouring that money out. If you've seen the ads that are out there, I don't think the ads are particularly effective yet, but there's very little polling out there, so it's still hard to tell. It looks like Jared is in the lead, but Kerry Kennedy has certainly gained momentum. Johnston hasn't given up, nor has Donna Lynn. So we're going to have a wild ride up until the 26th. And there's also the issue of all the unaffiliated voters, which is more than 1/3 of the voters in Colorado, can decide to vote in either primary. They just have to declare.
That's right. And if you haven't declared, you get both ballots. You can only send in one. If you send in both get nullified. So that's a good segue into a PSA. David, the initial TV ads do not a platform make, but at least gives us a clue of where the candidates want to focus, where they think they can separate themselves from the pack. We've seen, that's a Freudian slip. We've seen Mike Johnston double down on gun ads and gun topic. That's where he's going, thinking that's where he's at. We've seen Jared Polis really get into, I think, some the left wing of the Democratic Party, talking about universal health care and paying for kindergarten for everybody and renewable energy. I'm not criticizing the ideas, but those aren't where you're going to get a centrist, unaffiliated voter in Colorado. From what we've seen so far, what stands out to you that might separate some of these candidates from the pack?
Well, I think one thing that is, this is the first, because of a constitutional amendment enacted last election, unaffiliated voters can now choose to vote in either primary. And it's certainly notable on the Democratic side how little appeal there is to that. You know, this is not a case where you have a Democrat who says, sure, I'm a regular Democrat, but I'm also kind of mavericky, and I don't toe the line. I'm an independent thinker. Come and vote for me for pragmatic solutions for Colorado. You see a little bit of that on some Republican candidates and some other races, trying to appeal to the unaffiliated, but none of that going on the Democratic side. They're all racing to the hard left of the party, presumably because that's where they think the votes are. That will make it harder for them in the general election for whoever emerges. I think one of the interesting things is the contrast between the candidates. We don't see that much in the TV ads or in their mailers, of which some, Polis and Johnston are pumping out a huge amount of those as well, is the profound difference on education reform. Jared Polis and Mike Johnston have a long identification with that issue, and it's certainly been historically something that is very welcome in the Democratic Party. Former State Senate President Peter Groff is a member of Democrats for Education Reform. Former House Speaker Mark Ferrandino is a member of Democrats for Education Reform, and yet the party convention adopted a resolution demanding the Democrats for Education Reform remove Democrats from their name. And the majority of the delegates who voted for that, Kerry Kennedy, is certainly their person, the most hardline complete opponent of the union is always right, no reform ever other than more money out of the taxpayers, and all accountability, all choice is a terrible idea, is the sort of general idea. It would be nice to see maybe the debates focus on that issue where there is a much more profound difference among the candidates than on most other topics.
Eric, you'll be joining me, speaking of those debates, next Friday, June 1st, for a big Democratic gubernatorial primary debate along with Sean Boyd from Channel 4. It's going to be great. Be sure to tune in, 9 o'clock next Friday. We've been giving the Republicans a pass so far. Victor Mitchell has to be, I don't want to say called out, but at least we have to notice that his whole ad is basically saying that California is some sort of third world country, that it's so terrible, we don't want to become that. I'm not sure what state he's chosen that would be a better model to go with, but we don't want to become California, so vote for him. And then Walker Stapleton came out and said, hey, I was the only one to support Donald Trump's tax, or only state treasurer to support Donald Trump's tax cut. And that's making a pretty bold stance. Again, not necessarily looking for those unaffiliated centrist voters, which I get. That's not your bread and butter in a primary. But from both what you've seen Republicans and the Democrats, any plot line that has made an interest to you?
Yeah, let me start with the Republicans here. I think the Democrats have the more interesting primary and the more competitive primary, but let me quickly touch on the Republicans. I think Walker Stapleton is making a number of strategic errors here. Walker Stapleton has a luxury that none of the Democrats have, which is to run a November race even now in May and June, and instead he's running a May and June race when I don't think he needs to. I think he should be pivoting or ready to make himself a viable general election candidate. This governor's race in November is going to be tough enough for Walker Stapleton as the presumptive Republican nominee as it is. He is making it tougher for himself by using his advertising dollars to overly embrace Donald Trump. He doesn't need that to win this primary. To have Tom Tancredo give his nominating speech at the convention in Boulder, you don't think that one might come back to bite him come September, October, etc.? In tennis, it's called unforced errors, and I think Stapleton is making a number of these unforced errors, and as we've talked about on this show before, that he's ducking and dodging our debate and refusing to show up for our debate. He ought to be using these debates with the Doug Robinsons and Victor Mitchells and Greg Lopez's of the world to sharpen his skills, because he's going to need that when he faces off against whoever the Democratic nominee is. Unforced errors on Stapleton's part. Democratic side, I can still make a viable case for, it's harder to make that case for Donald Lynn, but for either of those three candidates. You have Polis's money, you have Kerry Kennedy's energy, enthusiasm. I do have to say, of the ads I've seen so far, and I've not studied every ad in detail, I find Kerry Kennedy's ads quite refreshing. I think they have it's not a content piece, it's sort of a style piece. And I think she's sort of capturing the zeitgeist of the year. And the biggest way she's capturing that zeitgeist is just by being who she is, which is female. If you look at Democratic primaries around this country, that have taken place over the last month for state office, for Congress, for whatever, women Democrats are winning an incredible proportion of those primary races. Whether that translates into November, time will tell, but this is a good year to be a female Democratic candidate. Kerry has a lot of wind at her back.
Scott, I can't help but think about somewhat of the battle of the heart of the Democratic Party in 2016. You had Bernie Democrats, you had Hillary Democrats, and I think it's less about just those two candidates, but more about a wing that wanted to push some issues and a wing that was still a little bit more traditional mainstream Democrat. I don't know if that fight has necessarily gone away, and I don't know if we have those players in the Democratic Party right now. Am I nuts, or do you see elements of that as well?
Interestingly, I mean, for all the divisions that I see in this race, that's probably the one division that I don't see playing out in the gubernatorial is this sort of Bernie versus, the centrist Democrats dynamic. I think what's really, I came home yesterday to a Mike Johnston mailer that I could use as a blanket. I was that large. I think that money is really going to make the difference. It's Memorial Day weekend this weekend. I think primary voters better be prepared for a cumulative toll of about $10 million being spent in terms of mailers, TV ads, and I think you're going to see the sands shift dramatically over the next 2 weeks in a race that has sort of seemed pretty stable and unable to make a call in. And that money is also, by the way, going to make a difference with those independent voters, because who has the reach into those independent voters? And I just want to make one point, in reference to sort of David's point about, why are we tacking to the left on guns? Clearly, these campaigns see that this is an important issue for independents. Otherwise, a candidate like Mike Johnson would not be making this his #1 issue for this campaign. He's got to get the votes from the independents.
Internal polling is showing something.